So Wolverine, already pretty powerful and one of the best hunters, and someone with one of the most powerful healing factors, now becomes even stronger with this crazy power up. And if you have been following along in Bloodhunt, it does have something to do with vampires. Now my name is AJ, this is the Hero Informer, and let's get into it. So immediately picking up from the last part and where we left off, we see Wolverine and his new vampire slaying duo, a woman named Nightguard. And while she isn't, super powerful, she is pretty good at what she does, hunting vampires, which makes these two teaming up a pretty unstoppable duo, as they have traveled across the country fighting all types of different vampires sent by Wolverine's old friend Maverick himself. And now they plan to go to finally confront him, but they find themselves in the middle of the ocean surrounded by vampire sea creatures, in which we see a giant battle ensue. And while individually these creatures don't stand much of a threat, they are pretty powerful in numbers, as soon as they get cut down and killed, two more show up in its place. But of course these two hunters are pretty good at what they do, and they are pretty easily cleaning up the battlefield. Logan using his iconic adamantium claws, and Nightguard using her specific vampire hunting sword and crossbow. And while they are fighting, Logan takes a second to monitor and appreciate Nightguard's fighting style and ferocity. But a second is all it took, as he is caught off guard by one of the sea vampire creatures as it pins Logan to the ground, getting ready to bite into him. But before he is able to do anything else, Logan then picks up a flare from the side, shooting it into the creature's face, not only blowing its head open, but lighting it on fire. But we also see the little fire from it ignite the engine, and with that Logan tells Nightguard to put up her helmet, as the entire ship literally explodes with them jumping out into the water. Which, I mean, if they were being swarmed while on a boat, being in the natural habitat of these sea creatures, the water, puts them at a pretty big disadvantage, as we see them dive into the water, side by side, back to back, getting ready to continue fighting. And I am not too sure if it's even consistent or not, but realistically, Wolverine shouldn't even be able to float in water. With that heavy adamantium skeleton weighing a ton, as soon as he touches any water, he should float to the bottom. But of course that wouldn't make for an interesting story if Logan just sank to the bottom and couldn't move. Anyways, as the fight goes on, it seems like the water disadvantage isn't that big of a disadvantage itself, as they continue cleaving and slicing up vampires like it was nothing. But as Wolverine and Nightguard are cutting and slicing, blood gets drawn everywhere. And what does blood do in the ocean? It draws other predators. As even Logan realizing this, he grabs Nightguard and tries to swim away before an entire squad of sharks pull up, joining their battle and eating at whatever they can. But Wolverine is able to pull her away as they clear the battlefield and swim somewhere else. We then move over and see them reemerge in some kind of cave. That's right, they seem to have found their way into Maverick's secret hideout. And as they make it out of the water and onto land, we see they are being watched by none other than Maverick and his new duo Alyssa, both whom are vampires and seeking Logan to either willingly or forcefully turn him into a vampire for their cause. And as Logan goes to obliterate the camera, he then turns to Nightguard, his duo, because he has just come up with a theory. As you see during this entire story, Maverick has not once even acknowledged Nightguard in her presence. So either he is incompetent in willingly ignoring her, or he doesn't know she is there. As you see, it turns out vampires don't show up on cameras for whatever reason. And seeing how Maverick's only visual contact with Wolverine so far has been drones, cameras, and other technology, she is basically a wild card up Logan's sleeve, a strategic advantage. But as it turns out, this so-called advantage doesn't stay secret for much longer, as while they are talking about Logan's theory, they are ambushed, yes, as you might guess, by more vampires. But not just any vampires, it seems like highly trained ninja vampires. And with that, once more, Logan and Nightguard gear up to slay more vampires. And just like before, they start cutting them down one by one. And you might be saying to yourself, wow, this is getting repetitive, them just fighting hordes of vampires. And yeah, even Logan seems to think so himself. As he goes on to say, this is getting old. Fighting these bloodsuckers on their terms, always outnumbered. From the security guards in the casino, to the mercenaries on the freeway, and even to the aquatic creatures in the water. And because of this, and being so close to Maverick and stopping this entire ordeal, Logan gets sick of fighting, and instead decides to run away and focus on the real target. As he has Nightguard use her weapon to shoot open the door, as they run down and escape from that one horde of vampires. Or at least that's what it looks to the ninja vampires. But it seems Logan was actually retreating to find another strategic advantage. As because in his own words, when you want to reverse the odds when facing superior numbers on a battlefield, you cut down your enemy's ability to maneuver. As we see them on a straight catwalk with nowhere to really run around and only facing each other head on. And going face to face with a mutant who can heal from almost any injury with indestructible claws that can cut through almost anything isn't really a smart idea. As Logan rushes up, engaging in close quarter combat, literally brutalizing every enemy he and Nightguard faces. And eventually, and not surprisingly, they are successful, defeating and maiming every enemy vampire on the field. But it seems like Wolverine isn't done yet with his plan and other surprises, as he then goes to pick up one of the vampire's sword. And what does he do with it? Well, he literally stabs himself through the stomach. screaming out in pain as blood splatters everywhere. And why did he do this? Because this was the end game and the goal of his plan all along. As you see, having a sword stuck in his stomach, it slows his healing factor down, because his healing factor is going to go into overdrive trying to heal a wound that is constantly being reopened from the sword stuck in there. And he is slowing his healing factor down, so he is vulnerable to vampire enzymes, as he turns to Night Guard, telling her to turn him. And with her trusting Logan, she does, biting him in the neck and giving him this now curse or mark of the vampire, turning him into the very enemy he was fighting against. And just as he is turned, we then move back to Maverick's POV, where we see on his cameras Logan disappeared, because as a vampire now he doesn't show up on recordings, giving him just another advantage. Because as you know, Logan may not be Iron Man type of smart, but he is combat smart and strategically very sound. But with this new information on the field, Maverick himself then gears up to go out there to confront Logan himself. Moving back over to Wolverine, here is where things get really interesting. As you see, not only is he a powerful mutant in his own right, but now he is a powerful vampire too. And when you combine those things, you get something entirely new. As even Logan goes on to say that he can really get used to this new level of power. Invisible to security, built-in night vision, speed and power for days. Everything about him is dialed up to, well, dial 11. But before he can test out his new abilities even further, he is shot in the arm. Shot in the arm by Maverick, who is now joining the fray, as he continues to shoot Logan. And this is only a problem now because his healing factor is slowed down due to the vampire's mark. So I guess being a vampire does have some of his drawbacks. Yeah, this isn't going to kill him, but he's not going to heal as fast as he would be, as we see him crawling away as Maverick trails behind him. With Maverick going out to pull out a rifle and weapon that looks like it's straight out of Halo, he even goes on to explain to Logan that he doesn't know how he was turned. He figured his body wouldn't even allow him to be a vampire, but he can still turn his situation around if Logan decides to play nice. And with that, Maverick calls out Alyssa, his partner in crime. But it seems all these vampires aren't on the same page, as Alyssa, being a self-proclaimed queen of vampires, has ulterior motives. Because as she steps out of the shadows, she then greets Logan, telling him that she is just a future queen, seeking out her future king, as she goes to tap Logan on the chin, seemingly putting him under her spell. Because as it turns out, some vampires are able to control the will, basically mind controlling other lesser vampires. We see Blade, over in the main Bloodhunt series, do the same type of thing to Black Panther. But with Logan out under her spell, she has seemingly betrayed Maverick to get her hands on Wolverine, a now almost indestructible vampire being. But as this happens, this video and issue comes to a close. So yeah, that was issue 3 of the Wolverine miniseries Bloodhunt. If you enjoyed, leave a like, or even subscribe if you're new and like this type of content. Now, this was the Hero Informer, and thank you for watching.